Good afternoon on what is a cold, wet and damp day. It is Thursday, the 11th of October. I'm back in the reading nook. I have a nice hot cup of tea. And I also have a cat on my lap. Cat who is not ours has come to visit and decided he wants the warmth of my lap. And the book I'm going to look at today, it's not a proper unboxing, it is more an unwrapping or unsealing, is this. The Valiant Universe, the role-playing game, published by Catalyst. So technically this is not an unboxing, so welcome to the unsealing court, as it were. Sorry for the bad pun. It's not mine, it's my partner's, so I have to use it. So let's have a look at this. Now, this is the role-playing game of the Valiant Universe, which is a superhero universe created in 1992 by Jim Shooter. And it is really sort of like built off a couple of Gold Key classic characters from the Gold Key comics of the 60s. Basically Magnus Robot Hunter, Far Future Robot Hunter, and Dr. Solar, Man of Power, I think, something like that, who essentially is a kind of model figure for Dr. Manhattan, but and incredibly powerful. So let's see what I can get with this. Just plastic doesn't work. There we go. That's ripped. And there are quite a number in the early 90s. There was sort of like quite a number of superhero sort of universes that people tried to launch, and most of them were sort of like semi-successful because essentially they were still going up against the big two of Marvel and DC Comics. Valiant was one of the ones that kind of stuck around, certainly through the 90s and then into 2000s, and then has had a bit of a troubled history since. But if you've seen the film Bloodshot with Vin Diesel, which I think has just appeared on Netflix, you will notice that Bloodshot is one of the characters from the Valiant Universe. Now, from what I read, this is the special edition, okay, and nice cover on the front, interesting shot of the character Exo Man of War. It's the helmet. Basically, he's a Eric Visigoth who fought the Romans and then found some alien technology, and it became a suit. He now fights people in the modern age, including the aliens who try and get the suit back. But the Valiant Universe is sort of like interesting, essentially, where it's got quite a long history in terms of its setting. There's not a lot in the way of sort of like comic book death, so characters can die and do die, and there's some great characters. So we open it up, and what we've got in here is just this. I don't know what that is. It's sort of a poster or a yeah, it's a poster. So let's just say flip to the back, see if I can get a better. There we go. So there's basically classic shots, some of the characters for the Valiant Universe, and I believe that's Harada, one of the enemies because most of the characters in this setting are metahumans, mutants, if you will, kind of, and then one of the favourite characters in the setting is Faith, who is trying to get by in Hollywood as a superhero, basically in Los Angeles. And then we get into explanation of what the Valiant Universe is. A bit short, there's a lot to it, but I recommend basic characters like Ninjak, Bloodshot, Exo Man of War, and so on. And let's have a look. Let's see if we go further. So there we go, there's about a shot of Exo Man of War. There's Faith at the back. And it's full of interesting characters. So we have title exposés, and this explains who the major titles characters are. So Archer and Armstrong essentially is Armstrong is basically one of the immortals who's been around for forever. With his various brothers, and his Archer is his young protege. Then we have Bloodshot, and Hardcore Bloodshot has basically nanotech in his nanotech blood. Then basically it's just going through all the major characters and the major titles, explaining who they are, and what's involved. Then we have Quantum and Woody, who are the worst superheroes ever. And I mean, the tone is set by the fact that they are accompanied by a goat. And he's as much a character in the comic as he is, as they are. And they see that basically at the top here we have tags and cues, and they come into the role-playing game, I'm sure, because essentially, as far as I know, it kind of uses the same mechanics as the Cosmic Patrol role-playing game. Cosmic Patrol is what it says it is. It's a science fiction role-playing game, sort of based on 30s, 40s, 50s, sort of like science fiction, sort of space cadet sort of thing, where you go off and play. You join the Space Patrol and go out and protect the universe and colonists and so on in your rocket ship. Basically, another favourite of my character is Shadow Man, who is occupied by a lower spirit, and then Exo Man of War. I like Exo Man of War so much that they did replica power rings. I've got 3. For some reason, I think I've got 3. I think 2 or 3. One. So yeah, going to basically we've got various organisations, and then we get on to the game rules and essentially a guide here, accepting the premise, and I think that's as good as anything. And you are going to need, essentially everyone has a character, and it's one of the features of both this and Cosmic Patrol is that you don't need a game master as such, because essentially the responsibilities of the game master, or here lead narrator, rotates from player to player throughout the game. Although it's entirely possible where you can have an adopted lead narrator, someone just does it all the time if they don't want to play. So what happens is essentially one person's the lead narrator, they handle all the bad guys, everyone plays their character, he sort of plays his character sort of and makes the roles and so on, but he's not kind of like but he's concentrating on the bad guys, and it swaps around and so on. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure I like the choice of font for these boxes here. You know, it's basically meant to be a bit jaunty, but yeah. Okay, and then plot points, which basically covers some of the elements like the tags and cues, which I'm sure they'll be keying up the dice rolls of. Essentially the basic mechanic is essentially a D12 plus a stat die or a power die, because everything is rated on die type, so the bigger the die type, the more powerful it is. Finally, we basically get on to creating a character. So we've not actually seen what a full character looks like so far in this. So I'm sure there's got to be a list of the characters in here, and then we've got basically we've got event briefs, and essentially big events are sort of like would be the equivalent of Crisis on Infinite Earths for DC Comics, but the Valiant Universe had its own, and here we get into actual characters. Helicopter flying straight overhead, brilliant. Okay, here we go. There's Armstrong, who I mentioned earlier. Amran and a Padda of Earth, essentially one of the Immortals. Bloodshot, essentially. Basically equivalent to trying to create a super soldier, and he rebels, and that's a sort of classic kind of setup, but that's fine. Little character sheet there, so you've got the various die types, which are given not just as in numbers die types, but also their silhouettes. So Bloodshot has D10 for might, intellect D8, charisma D4, so not, action die D10, luck 7, and then his powers are, he's got control computer D10, nanite regeneration D10, change appearance D8, psionic resistance D12, pain resistance D10, and then he's got his Qs, so that's sort of basically, God, I'm hungry, I was sold to the machines in my blood, I need protein, I'm everybody's problem, and so on. But, so we've got a big long list of the characters. So here's Faith, as I described earlier, and she can weightlessness, flight, optimism. So basic weightlessness, flight D12, companion field, flight, pop culture knowledge D8, optimism D10. So it's quite, there's a little bit of diversity, as I say, diversity in terms of what the characters can have as their abilities. Just flipping through. There's one of the villains, essentially Master Dark, who opposes Shadowman. And the earlier Quantum. And Woody. No goat though, and there's Exo Man of War. And then minor characters. So it's essentially everything that you kind of need, and then we've got event briefs, so an actual sort of like campaigns here. In the background, in the back. So yeah, in the main, you can create a character. It kind of focuses more on playing the characters already part of the universe. You kind of sort of like really kind of need to be a fan of it, I would suppose. And there's a 4-part campaign in here as well. So you get quite a lot of gaming content. So yeah, and that's the Valiant Universe role-playing game. This, I'm just see when this came out. Well, yeah, that came out in 2014. So that'll be interesting. It would be interesting to get around to reading that and reviewing that at some point. So yeah, okay. Well, thank you very much for watching another unboxing in the Nook. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please do click the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I appreciate you posting those, and I do respond as and when I can. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, where you will see me with a box and a game or supplement, which I will talk about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, accompanied of course by a nice hot cup of tea, and on occasion a cat who is not ours, then please do click the subscribe button down below. Once again, thanks for watching, appreciate you taking the time, and we'll be back again soon with another unboxing of the Nook. Bye for now.